Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 98 of this Rise Up and Share Your Medicine podcast. I'm so happy to be here with you. My name is Lisa Espinosa, and I am a spiritual career coach. What that means is that I help my clients, I help my students to create a soul led life where they share their unique gifts with so much impact and so much joy. Of course, it takes a lot of courage to do that, but really understanding that what will bring us the most joy is to fulfill our purpose, is to share what I call our soul's medicine, because that is the way that we offer value to the world, and that is the way that we offer value to ourselves, that we recognize who we really are. And so I'm really excited today, not only because it's episode 98 and I'm really excited to get to 100, but also because today's topic is all about healing the fear of visibility. And that's such an important thing. It's something that I've had to work on and continue to work on in myself, and that I help my clients and students with. And so, welcome, Roxana and Summer, and anyone else who's here, either live or in the replay. So, first, let's talk about what is visibility. Visibility means letting yourself be seen in your authentic self, like being fully authentic and being seen by others. And as you do that, sharing your gifts. So that's how I'm defining visibility in this context. And visibility, it's like a non-negotiable if you are here to help the world in whatever way that you're here to help. There's no hiding, right? There's like no, if we hide, if we cover ourselves up, be out of fear, then our gifts are no use to anyone, including ourselves. And so visibility is ultimately about, first and foremost, about you seeing yourself. Isn't that really interesting? And I remember a long time ago, more than 15 years ago, when I first started to really delve deeply into my spiritual journey. I mean, I was always on my spiritual journey, but along that time was when I was doing, starting to do yoga and really get into meditation, and a lot of my intuitive gifts were opening. So it must have been, more close to 18 years, a while back. And I was in a meditation class because at that point I was still very new to meditation. And although I was practicing meditation on my own, it really helped me when other people were leading meditations and I could just receive it. And so I was driving very, very far because I didn't live at the time anywhere near a yoga studio. That was back when I lived in Chicago. And so I would drive really far in Chicago traffic. If any of you are familiar with Chicago, it can have a lot of traffic at the worst time, right when I was leaving work. I was a middle school teacher back then. But I had found this yoga studio that I loved, that I felt really connected with, but it was in a far suburb. So it was a lot of commitment that I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to myself that I did that, because there were many reasons that I could have given to be like, no way, I'm not driving that far. I'm so tired, but I did drive that far. And it was this woman who was teaching from A Course in Miracles, and part of the class, she would lead a meditation, and that was why I was there. I mean, the class was okay. I had been studying A Course in Miracles, but really, for whatever reason, when she would lead a meditation, I could just like go within and really connect with my soul. And when she was leading this meditation, I had this image in this inner journey where angels were coming to me, like my guardian angels, I guess. And because she talked a lot about angels, but that's what I saw in my inner vision. And they were holding this mirror in front of me. And I was really like, why are they holding a mirror in front of me? But that meditation kept repeating, like every time I meditated, then on my own, often like these angels would come and have like a full length mirror in front of me. And then when I then, on my ongoing journey started to teach other people to meditate and started to lead my own classes and lead my own inner journeys, I often saw that too, of this mirror in front. And through my own exploration, what I understood was that my guardian angels, my soul wanted me to see myself, to fully see myself, and to see myself not through my ego's eyes, because when we look at ourselves through our ego structure, we look at ourselves through limitation, right? We might look at ourselves and be like, oh, judging our appearance or judging where you are in your life, or who knows. But this was my soul saying, look at yourself, look at how I see you. That's what my soul was teaching me, and that's part of what I teach others. And so when I talk about healing the fear of visibility, ultimately is you really starting to see yourself as your soul sees you. It's like, and when you do that, when you start that process of seeing yourself like your soul sees you, everything changes. You recognize, and it's not a narcissistic thing. It's not like, oh, I'm so amazing, I'm better than everybody else. That comes from the ego. It's seeing like, oh my gosh, I see my courage. I see all the transformative events I've gone through, what I call initiations. I see all the ways that my presence has helped others. I see that even those things that I call mistakes, my soul doesn't see them as mistakes. They were learning opportunities. They were opportunities to actually get closer to my soul. And this reminds me, today I am leading a really special masterclass that I'm so excited about, called How to Gently Integrate Your Soul's Lessons. And we're going to talk about that more. That process of integration is really a process of seeing yourself more. So anyway, that's a free masterclass. If you want to join, there's still time to sign up. And if you're watching this at a later time, you might still be in the time period where I can send you the replay. Okay, so I'll put the link in the comments. But so anyway, that's what happens when we see ourselves. And when you see yourself, you're much more willing. It's almost like you're compelled to have other people see you, right? Because visibility is standing in your soul spotlight and letting people find you. The people who are meant to find you, find you. And I want to be clear, your visibility will be different than anybody else's. It doesn't necessarily mean standing on a stage, saying a speech, or being in front of a camera. Like, your visibility might look different. So if you're like, oh my gosh, but I don't want to be on that type of spotlight, it doesn't have to be that type of spotlight, although it might be. But when I say standing in your soul spotlight, is meaning you are in that light of your soul and you're letting people know who you are, see who you are. We're not hiding anymore. It's like, this is who I am. These are my gifts. This is, and you might not say those words. I'm not saying that you go up to people and be like, hi, this is my gift, unless you want to do that. But it's more of how you live your life, how you share your gifts with others personally and professionally. And so, however, there's a lot of fear that we have around visibility, especially it's so interesting, because especially if you have a great heart, a great prayer to be of service, whatever that looks like for you, often there's also an equal amount of fear of being visible. Isn't that so interesting? That those people, I think this all the time, who are actually really meant to be seen, really meant to be found, really meant to stand out, because for all the different reasons, they've gone through a lot of initiations, a lot of transformation. They have so much to share with the world. Often those are the people that have the most fear of being seen. And please understand that. I understand that, because I was terrified of that. I mean, I've shared this before. If you went back and saw me in grammar school or high school, if somebody had told me, oh my gosh, you're going to be in front of groups of people and doing talks and on video cameras and on podcasts. And I would have like melted. There's no way I would have believed that. And I would have thought that sounded awful because I was so dreadfully shy and just so scared. I had so much fear of people even like looking at me, of having people's eyes on me. And so for whatever reason, let me rephrase that. I think it's because a lot of, especially women, but not just women, who are called to service, who are wellness professionals or teachers or mothers or, coaches, yoga teachers who are called to that profession have also had dealt with a lot of challenges in their lives. It's part of our training. I'll be talking about that today in the masterclass. And so we've also developed these protector parts, these parts of us that protect us and are like, okay, we've got to like hide a little bit. We can't fully show ourselves. It's not safe. And maybe it wasn't safe at some point in your life. So really want to acknowledge that. There were years in my life where it really wasn't safe for me to be fully seen as who I am. I wasn't in a living condition where that was not only accepted, but where it would have been severely judged and severely, I could have been harmed, right? So you might have had similar experiences in the past. And if not in this lifetime, you might have had that in past lives where many of us had that, right? I mean, think about how persecuted priestesses have been, medicine women have been, healers have been, spiritual teachers have been, still in this lifetime, but in other lifetimes especially. There was so much that we had to hide. So there's a very real reason why there's that strong fear of hiding. But we live in a different lifetime. And this is the lifetime where we're meant to be visible. We're meant to be seen. And it's a process. So even though I've done so much work on this, as I keep going to the next level, right? That's why this podcast is called Rise Up and Share Your Medicine, because we're always rising up more and more and more. Every time fear comes up and I have to work through that fear so that I can allow myself to be seen even more. And so it's very normal. That's the first thing. It's normal to have the fear. But once we know that, it is our responsibility to bring healing to that fear so that you can be seen and you can be found by those that you're here to be found by. And so what are the steps of healing this fear of visibility? And so here I always try to share them in as simple as possible, right? I'm offering you a mini transformation, but please remember that any of these steps you might need help with. And that's, again, totally normal, whether it's a friend, maybe you have already a coach or a therapist you work with, or a teacher you work with, or you're guided to schedule a breakthrough consult with me, because it can be very helpful. It's very easy for us to have blind spots. And again, there's no judgment. It's not because you're a bad person. It's because we're in our own brain with our own thoughts, our own emotions that can block us. And it's so helpful to have someone who can hold that beautiful container and hold that mirror up with love and compassion and wisdom. So what are the steps? And so I'm looking at my notes just to make sure I didn't miss anything else that I wanted to tell you. Nope, I said that. Great. Awesome. Great. Okay. So first step is that you want to identify and get very clear on your why. That's another way of saying get very clear on your intention. So meaning, why do you want to become more visible? And if you're watching this and you're like, well, I don't want to become more visible. If you're watching this, there's a part of you that knows, I need to be more visible. I need to be found. I need to be seen. And so it's important to identify your soulful reasons of why that is. And maybe for you, it's like, well, I know I have gifts to share with the world, and I know there's people out there that need them, and I know they need to find me. So I really want to be seen because of that. That is very compelling to me. That is one reason I keep going with this journey, is because I have a great prayer to be of service. And I know there's people out there, even though I've already reached a lot of people, I know there's more people to be reached. I know there's more people across the globe that are looking for what I have to offer. And the only way they're going to find me is if I become more visible. This is beyond marketing and all of that stuff. That's just a tool. It's energetic, right? It's for me to energetically say, find me. I'm here to be found. So you need to discover your why. And there's always going to be a personal reason too. So for me personally, I know that in this lifetime, I really came to heal a lot of shame, a lot of fear of being seen, a lot of insecurities. And the more I put myself out there, the more I am of service, the more I'm healed. So there's a personal reason too. Like I know how much healing it brings to me. I know that this is part of my awakening journey. And so you need to get really clear. What is your why? Because when you're really anchored into that, then that's greater than any fear you have. So first step, okay? Next, you're going to identify what is the biggest fear for you right now. And I wrote down about 5, and I want to make sure I don't miss any of them because I was like, ooh, no, it's six of them. So these common fears that we have around being seen. One is we have fear of being judged, right? Well, I'm going to be seen. I'm going to be share my gifts, share my teachings, or just be yourself in personal interactions, and people are going to judge me. So that's one, right? Then there's also the fear that people are going to dismiss me. That's a whole other different fear, right? It's kind of like, oh, people are going to be like, what is this? Who is this person? And just like, be like, I don't buy it, right? I don't buy what she says. I don't believe this or whatever it is. There's also the fear of being ignored, which is a little different. And it can be a really debilitating fear, particularly for those of you who are also wellness professionals, as I am, a coach, a therapist, a yoga teacher, an artist. We have this fear of being judged, but then there's also this fear is like, nobody's going to even pay attention. There can be this fear of being ignored, right? That it's like crickets. You put yourself out there and nobody's watching. That brings up a lot of stuff. There could also be a fear of being smothered. And that comes along as like, oh, I'm going to put myself out there and there's going to be all these needy people and they're going to want me and they're going to like try to smother me and I can't have that. And there's that feeling, right? Fear of being smothered. There's fear of being rejected. Like people are going to pay attention. They are going to hear what I have to say and they're going to reject it. It's a little different than being judged. All of these can overlap, but there's like a different flavor, right? Like I'm going to be rejected. And for some of us, it could be like, oh my gosh, if I'm rejected. Ultimately, well, I'll just stop there, rejected, and finish the list. And the final one is, these are not in any particular order, but we can fear being attacked. Now, fortunately, most of us are in a living situation where that isn't a physical attack. Maybe you've experienced that in the past, times in your life. I definitely did. But for most of us, it's now not so much a physical attack, although we might have had that in other lifetimes. It's more of an emotional, energetic attack, right? What if I put myself out there and somebody has some sort of ugly comment on what I said or, attacks my character? Right? Like those, and we see it happen all the time. And so that could be debilitating. And so as I shared those different flavors, right, of our fears, what now is important for you to do is identify which one is the loudest one for you. And maybe it's something I didn't even name here. And if there's something else, I would love for you to share in the chat or in the comments, because like I keep gathering this material as I help my own clients and I keep teaching this, because the point is we want to normalize this. When we just keep it inside or we're not even aware of it, it has so much influence on us. But the more we talk about it, the more we make it normal. It's like, oh, yeah, I do have a fear of being judged. I do fear being ignored. I do fear being attacked. I do fear being dismissed. Maybe it's like I fear being laughed at or ridiculed. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just like we want to talk about it. We want to make it normal. No, not normal that we're going to live with it our whole lives, just like normalize it, right? So first you're going to connect with your why, right? Second, you're going to identify what exactly am I afraid of? And some are sharing something great. Getting it wrong is a big one for me, or looking stupid. Yeah, getting it wrong. Yeah. And yeah, it falls under judgment, but somewhere that's really good to be very specific. Like, oh, it's getting it wrong or looking stupid. I know I've had a lot of clients who it's like making a mistake. Like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, and somebody calls me on it. I used to be terrified of that when I wrote my first book, Answering Your Inner Calling, and I started doing book talks, and I was talking about the soul, and I had this like such a big fear, like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to come up to me and be like, well, how do you know about the soul? Like, actually, the soul is like this, you're wrong. And that I would like you, Summer. It wasn't so much looking stupid, but for me, it was like making a mistake in public and somebody calling me out on it, right? Like that was really huge. And I had to like keep showing up and processing that and working with my coach, having her help me and my own soul. So you're going to identify what it is for you. Thank you, Summer, so much for sharing that. And again, it's like approach this with compassion, right? Like it's not stupid that you have these fears. It's so normal. Of course, how could we not have these fears? Unless you're an ascended master, you're going to have the fears. And if you're here, you're not an ascended master yet, right? We're an ascended master in training. We're still here with an ego. Yes, we're divine beings, but we're having a human experience. So we have these fears. I have versions of these fears all the time, right? And so that's step 2. And then once you do that, and Summer kind of modeled it for us, step 3 is really identify the thought that's creating the fear. So for Summer, if she identified that her fear is judgment, but then she identified the specific thought, like, I don't want to get it wrong, right? I don't want to make a mistake. Like for me, and so for you now it's getting clear, okay, what's the thought behind the fear? Because our thoughts, remember, they're just sentences in our head that are repeating over and over and over and over and over. And some of those sentences we've inherited from our ancestors. And actually, I want to show you, that reminds me, I meant to show you this right away. I pulled a card from this beautiful Guardian Angels deck, and I was asking about visibility, and we got this beautiful angel, ancestors, it says. It says, embrace your legacy with pride and reverence. Allow yourself to honor and appreciate the gifts of your ancestors by living a meaningful life and striving to leave a positive legacy for future generations. So look at this gorgeous, beautiful angel. And so, yes, part of creating this legacy is becoming visible, being seen, is identifying what are those sentences in my head that create fear that then prevent me from being visible. And I know some of you, I want to be really clear. If you're hearing this and you're like, well, I am visible, I am putting myself out there. That's amazing. That's wonderful. And we're always being called to more, right? So you just want to identify where is the place where you could be holding back. And then step 4 is bring it to your soul for healing, right? So we're going to do that in our inner meditation, but I want to recap that and then go inside and lead this short little meditation inner journey, just so you can start that process. So again, identify your why. Why is it important for you to be visible at this time? So not like in 10 years when whatever happens, right? Our ego loves to do that. Oh yeah, I can become more visible, once my kids are in college, or once my kids graduate, or when my house is repaired, or when I lose weight, or when I make more money, or that's an ego ploy. So notice that. Again, no judgment, because it happens to all of us, but just notice it like, oh, okay, there's my ego saying, this will be nice for 10 years from now, or 1 year from now, or 1 month from now. So I really invite you to ask right now, like in this moment, what is my why? Why do I want to be more visible? What is my intention? And you're going to ask your soul that question, not your ego. Because your ego might be the one that's like, well, you don't need to right now. You can just wait. That, and then you're going to identify what is the fear. Is it rejection? Is it judgment? Is it being dismissed? Is it being ignored? Is it being attacked? Is it being smothered? Like, what is it? What's the specific flavor for you? And then after that, it's like, well, what is the thought that is creating that fear? Now, notice all of this can be really fast. I just broke it down into steps. So then you're going to identify, what's the sentence? Well, I don't want to make a fool of myself. Or I've shared this many times, but when I was teaching in-person classes, especially when I was getting started, I was terrified of showing up and nobody showing up. I think I was a little more worried of just one person showing up, because I was like, oh my gosh, that person's going to be like, why am I here? Nobody else is here. Obviously, this teacher sucks. This was what my brain was saying. And just being embarrassed, right? I was so afraid of that. Like, I didn't want to be embarrassed and people see that nobody came to my class or just one person came to my class. I'm in a very different place now of those fears but back then I did have those fears. So identify, what is the sentence in your head, right? And then once we have that, we bring it to our soul. Now, obviously there's more steps, right? Like, that's what I help my clients with all the time. It's like, oh, there's an inner child part that maybe needs some help with that. But this here is enough in this moment to create a transformation for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that together. And so I invite you to take some deep cleansing breaths as you close your eyes or focus your gaze on something in front of you. And take a moment to connect with the earth underneath you, visualizing beautiful roots of light going down your legs and out the bottoms of your feet, deep into the earth. And I invite you to bring the palms of your hands over your heart center. So right at the center of your chest, as I'm doing. And you might just do it for a moment. It might just require a moment. You want to come out of your brain and into your heart. And then you can relax your hands or you can keep them there, whatever is helpful to you. And notice in your heart a beautiful flame, beautiful orange flame, like a sunset. And that flame emanates a light in front of you. And see yourself standing on that. The light is emanating and it highlights this beautiful golden path in front of you. And now see yourself standing on that golden path. Maybe it's in a beautiful forest and this path just is illuminated by this golden glow. And as you're walking on this golden path, you come to a grove of trees. And you know that you're meant to walk right at the center of that grove of trees, that circle of trees. So you're at the center and there's all these beautiful trees forming a circle around you. And then suddenly you notice that there's a beautiful golden spotlight over you. And it doesn't hurt your eyes. It's not uncomfortable. It feels so beautiful and supportive. It feels so safe. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel so safe here in my soul spotlight. And that's what your soul is showing you right now. Your soul is saying, hey, it's reminding you, you are the safest when you are in my spotlight. You are the safest when you are allowing yourself to be fully seen as who you are. You are the safest when you fully see who you are. And so in this spotlight, you are going to ask your soul, beautiful soul, remind me of my why. Remind me of why it is my prayer, my intention to be seen, to be visible, to come out of hiding. And now you're going to ask, beautiful soul, show me what is my biggest fear right now in this moment? What is my biggest fear of being visible? Am I afraid of being judged, of being ignored, of being smothered and overworked, of being rejected? What is it? Your soul understands. Your soul's not judging you. And as you receive that fear, at the same time, as your soul shows you what the fear is, ask, what is the thought that is creating that fear? Or what is the sentence in my head that is creating that fear? Maybe it's like, nobody wants what I have to offer. I'm going to look dumb. Oh, there's going to be too many people that want my help. I can't handle it. What is it? Just have your soul show you what that sentence is. And if in this moment you don't hear the sentence, that's okay. Just know that it's happening beyond your awareness. And so now imagine that you bring your hands out and this paper lands on your hand, almost like a fortune cookie paper. And on the paper is that fear, is that sentence, whatever it is. Whether you're aware of what it is or not, it doesn't matter. You just know, oh my gosh, I'm holding that sentence. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a fool of myself. I don't want to be ridiculed. I don't want to be judged by my family. I don't want people to think I'm a weirdo. Look at it. There's a sentence. And now offer it to your soul for healing. Know that your soul is here to help dissolve this fear, help lead you to the people who can help you heal this fear. And so bring it out, and it's like that paper starts to float up into that spotlight, into that golden light, and it dissolves into like glitter, sparkles of dust. And know that your soul is working on it, is working on helping you to heal this fear. And bringing the palms of your hands together with so much gratitude for your soul, but also feel how grateful your soul is to you. As we bow to each other and our own heart, and we end this inner journey with a namaste. Namaste, everyone. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. If you want to share in the chat or in the comments anything that came up, like what was on that paper? And maybe you'll have more papers. These are like little jumpstart inner journeys, right? You might create your own inner journey. Absolutely do that. Or you can go back and listen to the replay, like pause it in certain moments of that meditation and see what comes to you. Right? Awareness is such an important part of this process. Just knowing like, oh my gosh, that's it. And I like saying sentence in my head because that can make it easier rather than sometimes it can feel very hard, like to have a thought like, oh, how am I ever going to change that thought? But it's like, oh, it's just a sentence in my head. I can literally be like, I don't want to think that sentence anymore. That sentence doesn't serve me. What is a sentence that does serve me? Oh, Summer, your paper said not good enough. So yeah. So then that is the sentence, Summer, that you are going to get to work on, right? Because thank you. First of all, thank you for your generosity in sharing this because I know it helps a lot of people. And so we have this faulty belief that that our thoughts are just in our head and we can't do anything about them. But that's not true. We are sovereign. We have a soul. Yes, we can have a bunch of thoughts like that, right? Not good enough, or I'm so behind, that have just been played over and over. But we have tools and divine help to help us either dissolve the thoughts, or they're so small that it's like, okay, there's that thought. Yep, I know you're there, but I have way other thoughts that are so much more prevalent in me, rather than those little thoughts that I'm just going to not pay attention to. I'm not going to engage in anymore. And so, thank you so much. I hope I'm going to see you in today's masterclass, how to gently integrate your soul's lessons. This is so important because integration is part of the healing journey that so many of us skip. And sometimes we skip them because we were just in like a marathon of a life, right? I mean, I was a mom of 5 kids. There wasn't a lot of time to integrate all the stuff that was happening. But I was healing, I was feeling, I was processing. I had my therapist, I had my coach. I was just kind of like on this like warrioress mode. And then it was like time to integrate. And so I know like Mother Mary, she really came to me and was like, this year, there's so much integration happening for us. Because as we integrate, what does integrate mean? It means it means unite. It means fuse together, bring together, come into wholeness. So integration is an essential process. So anyway, I'm so excited to do that masterclass, and I'll be speaking of integrating, I'll be integrating meditations throughout the masterclass. It will be recorded, so you will have the replay for a week. Unless, of course, if you are my private client, you will get the replay for how long you want it. And there is a free giveaway for those of you who attend live. Not free giveaway. You will be entered in a free giveaway if you attend live. All right, my dears, thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I do want to say I am going to Ireland, woohoo, 3rd time, to visit my dear friend and to connect with the land and rejuvenate and all of the beautiful things. My plan is to still release a podcast episode next week. It'll be a pre-recorded meditation, so make sure to stay tuned for that. That will be episode 99. And then in September, we will have our celebration for episode 100. I have some really cool ideas for that episode. I highly suggest you're on my mailing list so that I can send you all the details if you want to be part of that, because I just feel special. It feels special to celebrate the 100th episode. All right. Bye, everyone. I hope to see you soon. Bye. Thank you, Roxana and Summer and everybody else.